To start off, we will be discussing the nitrogen cycle, which is a cycle of nitrogen that is being circulated through the environment. This is very important because all living things require processes like the nitrogen cycle to keep a healthy balance, and so they are able to live and thrive in the proper ways to keep the environment continuing at a steady pace. Some human alterations on the nitrogen cycle include things that upset the balance of the natural circulation of nitrogen in the environment. So, some of these things include burning of fossil fuels and the production of nitrogen fertilizers. These are bad because not only can they upset the nitrogen cycle itself, but they can also affect other natural processes in the environment, like carbon, which, if this cycle is disrupted, an increase of carbon dioxide will result in nature. Something that is causing these things to rise even faster is the increase of population, which causes more urbanization that leads to more things like burning fossil fuels and upsetting this balance.
My slides are on the effects on atmosphere. So it starts off with the question, how does the nitrogen cycle affect the atmosphere? And it says that fixation turns nitrogen into something like plants can absorb in their underground roots, which is like bacteria fixation. So it like helps create strength and gives them strength to grow. And then also another thing is creates different chemicals throughout the cycle, which are needed in different phases, such as like the atmosphere. So in different parts of the atmosphere, there need different things, such as like there's different things for humans. Humans can't ingest like the nitrogen that is being put out, so it has to turn it into another chemical source. My second slide for effects on the atmosphere, I had to answer the question, does nitrogen cycling bring about positive effects or negative effects to the atmosphere? And I found both positive and negative effects. So for one, it creates the most important pollutant in terms of human health. Therefore, it negatively affects the atmosphere, which, as I said previously, the nitrogen in the air can't be ingested in humans, and if it does, it'll create like such a toxic reaction in your body, which is not healthy for humans. And on the positive side, it improves plant health and other species of nature and through the roots, and also plants use the nitrogen cycle to synthesize chlorophyll.
Nitrogen deposition and changes in ecosystem composition and biodiversity. Many people may not recognize the term nitrogen deposition. However, it is a process that goes on every day in our lives. Nitrogen deposition is commonly known as a pollution to the earth, and it also enhances global warming, which many people may know about. It is a process of nitrogen gas going into the biosphere, which is just the surface of the earth, from the atmosphere. And it includes wet deposition and dry deposition, which could go into land or it could go in through the water, such as precipitation. Nitrogen deposition changes within an ecosystem, and this is because nitrogen deposition is a natural process. However, it is also a process used by humans, and as stated in the previous slide, through nitrogen-based fertilizers and burning of fossil fuels that releases nitrogen into the air, into the atmosphere. And it affects biodiversity because plants could either be killed by the nitrogen or they could be stimulated by the nitrogen. And plants that are affected negatively by the nitrogen have acidic tolerances, and they may not be able to take in all the acidic rain and nitrogen. Also, they could be stimulant to the nitrogen and cause the plants to grow more rapidly, which causes the plants to have to compete for soil and sunlight and things like that, which could also end up killing plants that are natural to the environment and needed in the environment. There are also many other ways that nitrogen can be affected by biodiversity.
Over time, as nitrogen fixation has increased with the population, the concentration of nitrogen has also increased significantly in many bodies of water. The transfer of nitrogen contaminating these bodies of water makes them acidic and causes many problems for aquatic ecosystems. There has been a big loss in plants and animals not only in the water but near shore. Along with the fading amounts of organisms, there is also less diversity seen over time. This is opposite of what should actually be happening. Next, there has been a decline in coastal fisheries and a noticeable amount of oxygen loss in estuaries and the seas. Drinking water is another large factor. Drinking water is contaminated with nitrogen more than ever before, and there is a higher increased susceptibility to acid rain. Future prospects. Nitrogen fixation is the best and cheapest way to produce the most ideal amount of food. While the population is expanding, food production plays a very important role in society. However, we rely on large amounts of nitrogen the most for food production. With the population continuing to expand, there must be a more effective way in order to keep ecosystems safe. These implications could include using fewer small amounts of fertilizer on crops and preventing fertilizers from getting into the water sources. Another big thing is taking precautions and constructing improvements in the combustion of fossil fuels as they deal heavily with nitrogen concentration.
In summary, nitrogen deposition is a complex atmospheric stressor. Humans have inadvertently changed the way nitrogen is deposited by using fossil fuels and certain fertilizers. This deposition arouses positive and negative effects, mainly altering microorganisms, plants, and trees through acid rain and soil pollution. An overexposure of nitrogen can be detrimental to plant life. The increased acidity in bodies of water due to deposition has caused a loss of plants and animals. In order to prevent these negative effects in the future, humans must cut back on the use of fossil fuels along with the proper drainage and reduced use of fertilizers.